everybody. Welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am Dez.
And I'm Fox.
And as you may see, things are a little bit different today. First of all, you can see us.
Hey, we're down in the corner.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
Second of all, you can see Dan. Hi, Dan.
What's up, guys?
So this is our first time ever having a guest on the show.
Yep.
Dan wanted to make it very specific that we do not call him a guest star, because he is not a star. He's just a guest on our show.
Okay.
But Dan and I go way back. How long have we known each other now, Dan?
We met my freshman year, your sophomore year of college. So, like 50, 60 years?
Yeah, somewhere in that area. So Dan and I met each other in college, and we bonded over the magical, wonderful thing of Super Smash Bros. 64.
Yes, the only Smash Brothers that exists.
Exactly, the real Smash
They should
Brothers.
make a sequel. That'd be cool.
I don't know.
Maybe add some
How
new
do you make the
characters?
sequel to perfection?
Add some new characters. I don't know.
Let's just say this.
Screw up the game physics.
Right.
Knew how to play it before.
Let's just say this. We have never met other people that were anywhere close to the talent of Super Smash Brothers that we and our other roommate Josh were in college.
I'm sure.
No, that's a true story.
It is a true story. In fact, Matt and I still get together and we make sure that our skills are still up every once in a while. You didn't mention Matt, but he's the fourth king of Super Smash Brothers. And I'm going to go ahead and say, anyone that's listening to or watching this podcast, if you think that you are a match for us in the original Super Smash Bros. 64, we accept your challenge, and we will beat you with Jigglypuff. Just to let you know right now.
Ruin you, really.
Okay.
So,
well, now that important topic has been covered.
Go ahead.
I was telling Fox earlier, I was like, we're going to start this podcast, and Dan and I are just going to talk 64.
You literally said
Super
that.
Smash Bros. 64
It actually
the whole time.
happened. No, I'm going to put an end to it now and get on to our actual topic for the day.
So Dan has a YouTube channel called Guns and Guitars, which how no other human being thought of that incredibly awesome name before this, I don't know. But Dan was the first person to come up with the Guns and Guitars YouTube channel. And Dan, why don't you tell us about that real quick?
So the YouTube channel was born out of, believe it or not, a calling in my life. If anyone listening to this podcast is a person of faith, it's actually, believe it or not, and I feel the most ridiculous ever when I try to tell people that God told me to start a YouTube channel about guns and guitars. It just sounds retarded. But the truth is, I felt a really strong calling on my life. I was working in full-time ministry at the time. I felt like God was pulling me out of that ministry into something new, and I didn't know what that was. And I felt like the only bit that he gave me was, it starts with a YouTube channel. And so I didn't know if I was going to be opening a guns and guitar shop. I didn't know if I was going to be, I don't know. There was probably a million different ways that I could make my living. I don't know if I was supposed to be applying at local gun shops or local music shops to kind of get this thing going. But I just started a YouTube channel, uploaded my first video January 1st of 2017, just 1 year ago. And then a few months later, I quit my job in ministry, and now I'm actually doing the YouTube channel full time. So it is kind of a cool story, and it's not so much about, God blesses guns and guitars. It's more about God blessing obedience. And so that to me has been my biggest takeaway from this is just learning to have faith and obedience, even in something that sounds as ridiculous as a YouTube channel about my two favorite things in the whole world. So it's been an awesome journey. I went from 1 subscriber on January 1st, my wife, to 50,000 subscribers January 1st, 2018. It's my full-time job. You can check out also my blog at gunsandguitars.net. You can also buy my awesome t-shirts there as well if you want to support the channel. And then also I'm on Patreon. If you are into crowdfunding, you can support me there. The only tier that I've set up is $1 a month because I don't think that anyone should give me more than that. But anyway, so if you check out my channel, you like what I'm doing, you want to support me, that's great. If not, then just keep subscribing to dezandfoxplay.
As you guys know, Fox and I are both pastors at a church and, share Dan's faith. And to kind of back on what he's talking about here, we started our YouTube channels around the same time, actually. His was just a couple of months after us. And Fox and I are doing what 100,000 other people are doing anyway.
Sure.
And so we saw our channel growing slowly, but Dan started his a couple of months later, and he did his very first video, and I'm like, oh cool, Dan's got his first video up. And I checked it again 3 days later, it had 2,000 views in 2 days, and I was like, whoa, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And so it's been really cool watching your channel grow, Dan, and watching God bless your channel, and it's been awesome to watch, dude. But we're not having you here just to talk about how guns and guitars are awesome, though Fox and I were musing how a Final Fantasy has never had a guntar before.
Yeah, why isn't somebody playing the guitar? It's had a gun sword.
Right.
But those are two weapons turned into the same weapon. Why isn't there a musical... He could be like a bard.
It'd be incredible.
Yeah.
The guntar.
Yeah.
Dan, you have the channel. Why have you not made a guntar before?
I will be honest. It is my #1 most requested video on my channel from my viewers.
Is it the guntar? Yes.
Please make it.
It's going to happen someday. I'm still working it out because, honestly, it's quite the challenge. Yes, I could just install guitar pickups and strings on a gun stock, or I could just install a gun action into a guitar body. But if I'm going to do it with a channel called Guns and Guitars, I feel like I have to do it right. So it's going to have to look good, it's going to have to play good, and it's going to have to shoot good. So I'm still working that out. So keep your eyes out for that video. But it's
just watch El Metayashi.
Yeah.
And you'll get a pretty good way to
Desperado. Talk to
sure.
Robert Rodriguez, and he'll really help you out there.
Right.
So.
But okay, for the real topic.
Yep.
There was a video that you recently-ish created. It was. You should talk about this video. You know more about it than I do.
What was the video, Dan?
What was the video?
The video was called "Build Your Dream AR-15 for Less Than $400." And for those of you who aren't familiar with my channel, it is more or less a DIY channel. I do some reviews and stuff like that, but mostly it's tips, tricks, and hacks on how to build high-end instruments or firearms on a low-end budget. And so I uploaded this video. I was very proud of it, showing off kind of some of the deals that you can find on AR-15 parts.
I want to stop you right there, Dan. I'm going to interrupt you, dude.
Okay.
Can you explain for people who, like Fox and I obviously know fully well, but maybe people don't know what an AR-15 is?
So an AR-15 is a civilian rifle, not to be confused with an M16, which even I think most non-gun fanatics would know is an assault rifle. The military uses. It's a full auto weapon. The AR-15 is the civilian version. It's not a full auto weapon. It's a single shot, or not a single shot. It's a semi-automatic, and it's magazine fed. Lots of other rifles out there like it. People generally are afraid of it because it literally is an M16, but without full auto capabilities. So it looks very scary. But there are lots of other semi-automatic, magazine-fed rifles on the market. But for some reason, AR-15 gets a bad rap, mostly because people confuse it with the military version.
So tell us what happened in this video.
So this video went nearly viral. I don't really know what the definition of viral is, but it was definitely my top performing video. So just to give you kind of some history on the channel, my best performing video to this day has almost 700,000 views on it. And I uploaded it last May. So this one I uploaded middle of December. It was up for 3 weeks. And it was on its way to on its way to 1 million views. It was 800-something thousand in just 3 weeks.
And what happened?
What happened was I got an email notification from YouTube saying that it violated their community guidelines, and I got a community guideline strike placed on my account, and they deleted the video. Which I'm well aware of YouTube's community guidelines. I definitely am a family-friendly channel, and as such, I naturally follow the community guidelines. But just for people who aren't familiar what those are, pretty much anything that has like racism or hate speech, anything that violates any trademarks or copyrights, anything that shows violence or sexually explicit, just kind of the stuff that you don't want your children watching, basically. But my video completely followed their guidelines. There wasn't any violence or hate speech or copyrighted material, explicit content at all whatsoever. So it was interesting that it got pulled. I did have the opportunity to appeal it, and so I did appeal it for manual review. So here's actually a really interesting thing. When I first uploaded the video, the first day it was uploaded, it got demonetized, which means that I wasn't allowed to make money on it. And it said, that material may not be suitable for all viewers. And so, which I understand, you're building a firearm. So anyone under the age of 21 maybe shouldn't know how to build a firearm.
Right. Even we get that on some of our videos. Like, and it's very strange. I don't really know how it works because take Resident Evil 7. We did a playthrough of it. There's like 27 videos of it. Some of them are perfectly fine. Some of them get the may not be suitable. So, and I guess I don't really know how that works, but yeah.
But we understand.
It seems kind of random, yeah, but we get the same thing.
And I totally understood that. And I was like, okay, well, I submitted that for manual review because you can always do that. If your video gets demonetized, you can submit it for manual review. And if your video has received over 1,000 views in the last 7 days, then they will send it to an actual person, not a computer, to review it and see, oh, is this or is it not actually suitable for all viewers? Can it be monetized? So I did that. And after a few days, it was reviewed and it got remonetized. So somebody from Google viewed my video and said, oh, this is suitable for all audiences, and put the monetization back on, because clearly I'd gotten more than 1,000 views. So I went on, and again, it was my best performing video. In that 3 weeks, I made about $400 in ad revenue on it. And those of you guys who don't know how a YouTube partnership works, but they when you monetize a video, they put ads on your video, and then they have a revenue sharing program where they split basically any money that Google makes on it. You get a cut of it, and they actually give the majority to the creators, believe it or not. It's like a 55-45 split. So I get like 55% of that ad revenue. Google gets the other 45%, which is fine. They're hosting my video. They're the ones that are reaching out to advertisers and
right. They're doing a lot of the work.
So, totally good with that. I actually really love YouTube. I think probably a lot of people listening to this podcast may get the idea that I'm really upset at Google and YouTube for this, but I'm really not. I love them. They've made me a lot of money. Together we make a great partnership. I get to create content that I like. They get to sell ad space, and we both make a profit, and it's great. So I made $400 on it. Google probably made close to $400 on it. Then they decided it was no longer suitable for whatever reason. I don't know if somebody flagged it or what, and it got taken down. So now I appealed that decision, and as of now, today, whatever today is, February 2nd, I think, it's still 3rd. Okay, so it still has not been put back up. So, and there's been zero communication. I don't know if they've reviewed it and still decided it's not okay, or if it's still waiting in queue with other videos that have been flagged for review. But as of now, it's taken off, and I'm not earning any revenue on it. But it also means that YouTube's not earning revenue on it, so they're hurting from it as well. So,
yeah, that's what happened. And Dan put up a video about the whole issue, and dezandfoxplay subscribes to Guns and Guitars. And we saw that video. I saw that video, and I immediately, to me, a whole lot of questions came up in my mind.
Yeah.
And first of all, just like Dan already said, we actually really like YouTube. Obviously, like, they do a great job. And Google, if you guys don't know, Dan keeps bringing up Google. Google owns YouTube, and they do a great job. They respect their creators. They try and work well with them, really well, and they do a great job with all this stuff. But at the same time, they are a corporate entity, and therefore they have a responsibility to try and appease their advertisers, appease their moneymakers, appease all these things that make them money. So we have this question today, and what we're going to be discussing here with Dan is, how do we think YouTube should balance freedom for their creators to make what they want and the ability to make sure that they're putting safe and advertisement appeasing up? What sort of power should YouTube have to be able to limit these things or not? Now, in truth, what happened is, with Dan's video, probably originally, it was somebody was offended, like people get in situations like this.
What? Two strangers on the internet can be offended by each other?
What?
I don't think so. That's weird.
For some reason, Dan's video probably offended them in some way, and so they probably flagged it. and and in fact, several people probably did, and then that just automatically went through some algorithm, and then some outsourced person probably viewed it and went ahead and took it off the internet.
Right.
What really got me about it was the flag, though, like that you got a strike for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not you, and that annoyed me. Like, you're a good friend of mine, and we've been friends for a long time, and I got all mad on your behalf, and I was really annoyed by that. And so this whole situation to me was just like, what's going on? So Dan, our first question to you, and what we want to ask you is, how do you feel about what's happening here, and kind of what emotions went through your head at first, and when you understand, of course, Google does have a responsibility to put safe videos on the internet, but your video was not unsafe. How do you balance that in your head, and how did you feel when it first happened?
Yeah, so to put this all in context, so that I don't get emotional about it, I actually have to go back and think about the entity that is YouTube. And so I'm gonna give you guys a couple of facts real quick about YouTube that you may or may not know. YouTube, new content is being uploaded to YouTube at an incredible rate. There is over 300 hours of footage uploaded to YouTube every single minute. If you think about just the infrastructure required to support something like that is crazy. I mean, we're talking terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of storage space and the fastest internet connections and servers imaginable to support that kind of content flow just to be uploaded. And that's not even including, they then have to take that content and stream it back to viewers, which, by the way, is 1.3 billion people. So like 25% of the entire population of the world is streaming video on YouTube. So when you think about that and the machine that YouTube is, it kind of helps put it in perspective. Is it going to be physically possible for a human being to review all that footage?
No.
I mean, probably not. It would take the other 75% of the world's population to be reviewing the footage before the 25% get to watch it. You know, it's just impossible. So they're doing some really, really groundbreaking stuff, honestly, by trying to figure out, you know, this artificial intelligence on their servers to kind of try to decipher what these videos are about and if they're okay, and if, you know, advertisers are going to be okay with their content being placed on it and all kinds of stuff. So with that in mind, it helps me understand a little bit more where Google's coming from on this.
Sure.
Right. So,
whereas before it sounded, you know, I view my relationship with Google sort of like, well, let's say my relationship with my wife. I love her very much, but sometimes I'm frustrated with her, especially when there's a lack of communication. So it felt to me like Google ran in the room, yelled at me, scolded me for doing something, and then ran back out of the room without me. So where if my wife did that to me, then, you know, things would be rough, but, you know, then I could storm in there, you know, and work it out and fix it and come to an understanding.
Calmly walk in there and have a conversation with her.
Right.
Yes.
Not storm in there.
So the issue, the frustration, I guess, that I should have, because I'm not mad at Google. You know, Google and I have a very good relationship, in my opinion, or YouTube, I should say, have a very good relationship, in my opinion. But my frustration just comes from the lack of communication. So yes, they took down my video. They said, this is how it's going to be. And then they ran away. And then they offered me an opportunity to appeal it, which I appealed. And in my appeal, I said, hey, look, this meets your community guidelines. I don't even care if the video is removed. I just don't want the community guidelines strike on my channel, because it actually limits me as a creator. I can't do some live streaming and a few other tools and stuff. And then if I get, you know, more than 3 strikes in a 3-month period, which, you know, 90 days, that's a quarter of the year. That's a lot of uploading time. So that it's frustrating to me. And so I want to be able to at least say, hey, and if it did violate your community guidelines, can you explain it to me so I don't do it again? Because at this point, I just feel like I can't upload any more gun videos, which, if you guys watch my channel, it is 90% guitars and about 10% guns, just because of the red tape and bureaucracy kind of that surrounds guns. I can't do it as often. I can't buy, sell, trade firearms like I can instruments.
Sure.
So so the channel is 90% about guitars and 10% about guns. But right now, It's 100% about guitars because I'm afraid to upload a gun video because I'm afraid that I'm going to get another community guideline strike. And I can't afford this because now this is my full-time job. So that was my sort of my plea on my video when I talked about YouTube taking down my video. Is that video wasn't so much of, hey, let's get on this hate bandwagon of YouTube, tell them that, you know, what they're doing is wrong. They shouldn't be censoring. They shouldn't be taking away my First Amendment rights, which is just ridiculous to think that a non-government corporation has any control over your amendment rights.
Right.
Which people are freaking out about. They're like, yeah, they're violating your, you know, amendments or whatever. And it's like, well, no. I will say whatever I want. I just can't say it on YouTube, which they own. They're hosting 300 hours of video every minute. They get to make up the rules. That's
no, actually, what you guys don't know is Google's going to be at your house soon, and they're going to put duct tape over your mouth and take all of your guns.
They'll fly in black helicopters.
Right.
So my whole point in that video was, hey, YouTube does have that control, and they rightly have that control. But if you don't want to see that control influence how I make my videos, then you need to support me outside of YouTube. So that was my whole point of that video. Is if you still want to see videos on how you can build high-end guns for a cheap price, and I can't keep making videos that YouTube's going to keep taking down because I got to make ad revenue too. Then you need to support me somewhere else. So I told them about my Patreon account. And as of today, I forget how many Patreons I have. It's, I don't know, 60, 70 Patreons, which adds up to a whopping, you know, like $70 a month, which isn't even close to what that video was earning. But at least it's something so that I can go on creating. And that's the whole point. As I've taken the time and done my homework on how to do this, and I want to willingly share this with my viewers for free. But if YouTube's going to take down my videos, then I just can't afford to do it. So that was my whole point. And so I don't want people to think that I hate YouTube. I don't. And I don't necessarily want people to think that they were wrong to pull down my video. Like I said, my frustration is that they just aren't communicating with me.
So Fox, we know that I know that you and I talked about this a little bit, outside of the podcast.
A little bit.
And I also know that you are a little bit more like strict on your ideas with like gun control.
Our opinions are different, yeah.
Yeah, as it comes to that kind of stuff. So tell me kind of what you think in a situation like this that you would think kind of an ideal, or maybe you understand more of what's going on the side of the person who flagged it or whatever else. Like, what were your thoughts when you saw this happen?
I mean, I'm not to the point. I don't at all believe that a video should be taken down simply because like somebody disagrees with what it says. As long as it's following the rules, like the guidelines, that's perfectly fine. It's not a video I'd watch generally because I have a certain opinion, but it's also not something that I'd be like, no, nobody should watch this because of my opinion. My question, like, the weirdest part of the whole situation to me is that, like, when you go to, your video response to the thing, or a video about guns on your channel, if you look in the suggested videos, there's 100,000 different things that are maybe not exactly the same, but very similar, like how to build a gun under a certain budget. And, like, that was the weirdest part to me, was like, why is this specific video treated different than these other ones? And so that's the question I have for you is, do you feel as though this video,
did you do anything unique?
Was it any different than other videos about guns that you had made before?
When you killed a man in this video,
was that a real person?
Yeah, honestly, that's the part that's got me the most perplexed, honestly. I don't know what about that video I did or said, other than, like I said, AR-15s have a negative connotation associated with them. So, and I haven't done a video on an AR-15 yet. While everything I did in this video was completely legal where I live, it's not necessarily completely legal everywhere else. So, for example, just about any other country in the world, you can't really own an AR-15. There are a few here and there, but for the most part, that kind of a firearm or guns in general are just not allowed. So we live in a very blessed country, I believe, where it's written into our Constitution that we have a right to own and bear arms, which I think is awesome. But where I live in Arizona, I can build and legally own and operate a firearm like this. You couldn't even next door in California. California has much stricter regulations on the firearms that you're allowed to own and operate. And this one would violate their terms on way more than even just a few simple things. So I could see when this video got flagged and possibly reviewed, if it ever got reviewed, I could see somebody even just looking at the title and going, this is illegal. He's showing us how to do something illegal. You know, it's the same as if I titled the video, how to make a pipe bomb in your bedroom with stuff you already have in your house. You know, or, you know, how to hack government computers to get nuclear launch codes. Like, I don't know, you know, I could see somebody in a different country or even possibly in a different state going, this is illegal. Didn't even watch the video, didn't watch the hundreds of thousands of other videos out there that are exactly like it, but just saw that this one was flagged by probably more than a few people, like you mentioned. And they reviewed it and they said, oh, this thing's blowing up with popularity. We need to shut this down before you know, anything happens. So it's possible. The thing that drives me the most nuts is, like I mentioned, I did submit it for review for the monetization thing, and somebody from YouTube, because it says that it's a manual review by a person, somebody from YouTube saw my video and decided not only does this video meet our community guidelines, but it's actually okay for all audiences for revenue ad sharing. So for them to make that decision and then 3 weeks later a complete 180, that's the part that is the most confusing and frustrating for me.
So I want to get into really the thick of what we're talking about. I know we're half an hour into this, and now we're finally getting to the thick of. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the guy to play devil's advocate here.
Oh, you are.
And
usually that's me.
I know, right? But what I'm going to say is, and maybe not even devil's advocate, but just as much as like a person to step in and say, okay, so let's think about YouTube for a second here and how the view of AR-15s. I mean, just a couple of years ago, there was a shooting at the school. A block away from my house. Right. My students go to this school.
I drive a school bus full of students to that school.
And 2 teenagers died in this issue. And so there is this, and just every day I get updates on my phone, just all kinds of gun violence and gun issues and things like that. And of course, part of that is the media. They are the ones that are televising this, et cetera, et cetera. But it is happening. And so there is a fear out there of these things. How, as an advertiser, as somebody, you're a corporate entity, you want to make money on this stuff. Right. How do you balance that? How do you balance the knowledge that people are afraid of this and we may lose our dollars because these people are going to see videos like this online and say, well, I'm not going to support YouTube if they're going to have videos like this. If my kids can go to YouTube and watch a video like this at any time, if some dude at Google greenlit this for monetization, I don't want my kids going on YouTube at all then. I don't trust YouTube in general. How should YouTube as an entity balance that?
So that's a good question, and I'm not going to get too much into the weeds on the, you know, pro-gun, anti-gun.
Right. Sure, that's not really a thing.
That's not what we're talking about.
We don't want to get into that on our channel.
Yeah, and nobody does ever. And if you're on my channel and you're commenting, I don't want to get into it.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
With preconceived views and they're not willing to change, and I'm not okay with that. I like to talk with open-minded people about this stuff, and even my mind has flipped back and forth via some conversations I've had with other open-minded individuals. But going back to what you're saying about Google knowing where to kind of draw the line with this kind of stuff, there are other platforms arising because there is a large gun community that is just fed up with Google and YouTube with their what they call an anti-gun agenda, which call it what you want, but yeah, they do kind of discriminate against the pro-gun community quite a bit. For example, firearms companies are not allowed to advertise on YouTube. I don't know if you guys know that, but
I did not know that. No.
I think
I have no idea.
I think accessories maybe are okay because I've seen some ads for holsters and things like that. But actual firearms, you cannot advertise on YouTube. So where I don't know if you know this, but men ages 24 to 49 are 60% more likely to watch YouTube than they are live television. So if you think about the demographic that these gun companies are trying to sell to, it's probably that 24 to 40.
Pretty close. Absolutely, yeah.
So buying YouTube ad space is more valuable for them than running a TV commercial, which is crazy. So they're obviously upset that they can't advertise on YouTube. And then also lots of gun vloggers are now upset with YouTube demonetizing their stuff because it's not suitable for all audiences, which is totally understandable. You know, they tried to keep it age friendly, and they don't want to be advertising, you know, like for a Disney movie on a video on how to build your own AR-15.
That would be ironic.
So advertisers, obviously, even the anti-gun ones, you know, they're upset that, you know, their videos could be placed on these other videos. So there are other alternatives to YouTube arising, and one of them that I should mention is called full30.com, and they advertise as a drama-free gun video site, and so it's where these advertisers can spend their ad dollars, and it's where these gun vloggers can upload without fear of their videos getting taken down. And they have their own community guidelines as well. You know, they don't support hate speech and violence and things like that. But they're just saying, hey, if your video gets taken down on YouTube, then upload it here. You know, it's going to be a while before any other platforms are able to take off, because I mean, YouTube does something that's awesome that nobody else is doing, in that they share their ad revenue with everyone. So that's how there's incentive for creators like me to be on their platform, versus Full30. I wouldn't be able to make my living on it. You know, it's just a place where I could upload that video, alternatively to, you know, YouTube. So there are other platforms arriving, and I think there always will be other platforms out there. There are lots of video platforms like Daily Motion and a few others that
Vimeo and
really lenient on the content you can upload, as like, so far as to say that you can upload just about anything, which unfortunately, when you think about something like that, okay, so if people are leaving YouTube because YouTube doesn't want their content, and then they're leaving to go upload on this other site, well, what content is that website going to get? Only the stuff that YouTube won't allow.
It's going to be the anti-YouTube.
Right? So I steer clear of Dailymotion because I know there's tons of sexually explicit, lots of racism and hate speech, lots of it's just a dark place that I personally don't want to hang out with. I'm a family friendly channel. I don't want my stuff associated with that. Not to mention that I can't make money on it anyway. So going back to your original, you know, how does YouTube balance that? Well, honestly, just like Walmart and Target, you know, Target says we don't want to sell guns. Okay, so you go to Walmart and buy a gun, right? Okay, it's fair play. It's competition. So there are other, you know, if people, you know, if parents are watching their kids watch videos on YouTube that they don't deem appropriate, what are they going to do? They're going to say, oh, let's go watch videos somewhere else. Let's go watch them on Netflix under the kids subcategory, where they only post stuff that's suitable for, you know, 12 and under or whatever. So you're trying to play devil's advocate and trying to talk about, you know, where does YouTube draw the line? YouTube can draw the line wherever they want. Because the fact of the matter is, if they offend people just go somewhere else. That's our awesome capitalist economy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But then on the other side, okay, but YouTube also advertises itself as a place for creators. I mean, at that point, they say, post what you want because you're an artistic person, because you are an incredible do-it-yourself guy, and you have this talent to make these guitars and guns. We want your content on here. Like they laud themselves as this place for creators. You know, they even call the people who upload stuff, they don't call them YouTubers, they call them creators.
Right.
And they want to be this place of artistic freedom and artistic stuff. They have community guidelines, and that makes sense to me. That's good. We want you to be artistic, but it's not artistic to be a racist. Now you're just a douchebag. Like, you want to be artistic, but it's not artistic to hurt other human beings. Now you're just a jerk. You know, you're a hateful person. But it's artistic to go into your home and to go in and to sand down this piece and to carve this piece and to put it together. And now I have this gun that I have made. That's this piece of art that I have made. It really is in a lot of ways.
Sure.
And it's very cool to be able to do that. How do you then at that point, like, why can you go in and say, but that art is not okay because it shoots bullets.
I mean, it's always going to be subjective. Like,
Right.
it's never not going to be subjective. There's always going to be... my question, so one of the ways I feel like they could get around it, and they already do, they have community guidelines, they have, you have to be signed in and a certain age to be able to watch this video. Is there some kind of, kids-only section of YouTube? I'm actually not sure. I've never really looked into this. Is there a kids-only section of YouTube that just doesn't allow kids... Here's what I think would be cool, and if it exists, that'd be great. You go to this kid's YouTube section, you can watch any video on Guns and Guitars that's not been flagged by, or not been deemed by YouTube to be an 18 or over video.
Right.
But those ones that are, you can't even access. They don't even show up. Is that a thing?
It is a thing, believe it or not. So there is an option in YouTube called restricted mode. And so what that does is it actually removes any content that they think that might not be suitable for younger viewers. And so, and actually, when I uploaded that video, a buddy of mine who's a worship pastor at a local church said, "Hey, I really wanted to watch your video. It's not on your channel anymore." And of course, I freaked out because I was like, "I just uploaded that thing yesterday," So I went on, and sure enough, it was there. And he was like, "Well, it's not showing up for me." And so he sent me a screenshot of my channel and the list of videos, and sure enough, it wasn't there. And I was like, "Well, that's weird." A couple days later, he texted me back, said, "Oh, I figured it out. I was watching with my browser in restricted mode, and it wasn't showing it." And so, my account was in restricted mode, which I think is very admirable of him. He's in a position of ministry, and so he's doing that. And so my video didn't show up there, and I said, "Oh, that makes sense." And that's all I left it at. I wasn't like, "Why is my video suitable for 4-year-olds?"
Right.
I was just like, "Oh yeah, makes sense. Fair play to Google. That's great. It's getting plenty of views otherwise from, I can look at my demographics and I know that, 90%, 98% of the viewers were men aged 34 to 49. And I know that I'm not, inspiring 4-year-olds to build AR-15s,
Now
there is a version there.
Did YouTube tell you that it was, were you, it sounds like you were completely unaware that it would not be available in restricted mode.
I was unaware of that. Yeah, Google did not tell me that. But I was fine with it, given the nature of the...
Sure, it makes sense. But, okay, see, here's a question that I have, is I would assume that you want your video to be back up on YouTube. Just that would be a good thing.
Ideally,
we're right. What would you consider to be I feel like you would have to compromise also, considering YouTube is not apparently 100% okay with this video. So where do you feel as though that compromise would fall? What do you think would be a fair situation for it to be up there, but maybe not 100% available to everybody?
That's an excellent question. I honestly think that the restricted mode that's what that is there for.
That seems pretty elegant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going back to the idea of, why did my video get flagged, or, why did my video get taken down or whatever, where do they draw the line? The truth is, my video did meet the community guidelines. And like we've said before, there are hundreds of videos out there exactly like it. The thing that I really feel like separated my video from the others that have not been taken down is just that people complained about it. And I think that's a good place for YouTube to draw the line. If people don't like it, then why push it and say, "No, well, we allowed this guy, so we're going to have to allow this guy." Clearly people were upset about it.
See, that's funny that you say that, because
Yeah.
we expected you to be on the other side, and but I disagree with you on that.
That's a hard, if 800,000 people have watched this, and let's say 1,000 people, which is probably far, far more than actually was the truth, reported it, how do you, do you say, okay, those 1,000 people's opinions are more important than these other 799,000 people? That's interesting to me.
Well, and I'm also gonna use exaggeration for the point of this. I'm not saying that you are some sort of huge oppressed person, but whenever there's artistic protest because of oppression, just because the majority of people don't like it doesn't mean that this is a good thing that is okay, that should still go. It may even be a majority of people that didn't want civil rights to happen, but it still should have happened. We recognize now it was a good thing. Again, you are not an oppressed person. You are not, a civil rights activist or whatever else.
Some call him the Rosa Parks of YouTube.
But only because he's a black woman.
Right.
But at the same time, this does show this point here of that just because people don't like it, that doesn't mean it's not a good thing or an okay thing or even beautiful art at that point. And, Fox, you and I talk art a lot.
Sure,
and
it's a major topic.
You and I talk, we're pretty liberal on what we consider art. And I would consider almost anything do-it-yourself, something that you're getting in there with your hands and creating with that a form of art. And to limit that just because people don't like it?
Yeah, that's hard for me to accept.
Yeah, and I would say that is a poor choice on YouTube's part. I get that they have to do this because, and see, I'm not even say have to. I get that they choose to do it because they're thinking of their bottom dollar, which that's fine. A company has to do that. That's how they exist, is because they have money. But if you're going to lodge yourself as a place for creators, but then limit art just because people don't like it, and not even the majority of people, just the loudest voices don't like it, I think that's an unwise and unfair approach.
Sure.
Yeah, and I agree with that logic, and I can get on board with it. But the truth is, if this is fine because it's offended some people, which is fine. If you want to have a loyal following, you need to offend people. The truth is, if you're not standing up for something, then nobody can stand with you, right? So if you browse through the comments on my video where I talk about how my video is removed, if you can weed through all the hateful political ethnic slurs that were slung at YouTube as a result of it, you actually see a good significant portion of people that are like, hey man, you're a good man. This shouldn't have happened to you. I came for the guitars. I'm not about guns, but I don't agree with this, And so now I have this, I would say, even more loyal following as a result of this happening. So there are good things that could come of it. It's not all bad. To your point about YouTube advertising themselves as a free place for creators, I'm not so sure that they necessarily even do. They do come right out the gates with their terms and conditions when you sign on to be a creator. And they say, you got to follow these or, we're not going to let you hang out here. It's the same way, if you go to Disneyland, they say, hey, no selfie sticks allowed, or, no pocket knives. Like, if you don't play by our rules, we're not going to let you in, and.
But you didn't violate anything. You didn't bring a selfie stick.
That's true.
It's like if you went to Disneyland and you were wearing a Trump hat. And so people there were like, oh, look at this douchebag with the Make America Great Again hat. I don't like that he's wearing this hat. You're not doing anything wrong, but people in Disneyland don't like that. And so the Disney mafia comes in and says, all right, you got to go.
Which we all know exists.
I can tell you stories. They are real, yes.
Situation and raise you a situation. Let's say you're walking into Disneyland. There are hundreds of thousands of people surrounding you. Someone says, he's got a gun. Security comes, checks you out. You don't have a gun. 15 other people say, no, he has a gun. I saw it. You can't let him in the park. Okay, what does Disney do in their best interest?
That's a good point.
They let in someone that 15 people have, said that this is not okay. I'm not okay with this. Do they allow that risk to play out? Hey, we're going to let him into our park with hundreds of thousands of people and just see what happens. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Let's just see what happens, And then I go on a mass killing spree and they say, Disney, we told you he had a gun. 15 of us told it. There were 100,000 people there not saying that I had a gun, but there were 15 that said, hey, this is probably not okay. So what does Disneyland do in that situation?
Yeah, the hard part for me on that example is that
I will stop right now and say I did not expect this to be going this way. This conversation be going this
Disney
way.
and the mafia. No, okay. But the hardest part for me to accept about this whole thing that happened to you is that literally a human being watched your video and said, this is fine. You can make money off this. Everybody can watch it. And then it just got taken down again.
Right. And then a security guard came and checked me out and said, no, he doesn't have a gun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he patted you down. what is the process there? It doesn't seem like this manual review actually did anything.
And let's be honest, all of this is the product of a political climate. Whatever side you fall on this political opinion, it's kind of the outcome of a political climate that has a fear of guns right now, and somebody therefore flagged it because of that, and somebody may or may not have agreed with them.
Assumedly.
Yeah. And may or may not have agreed with them, but at the end of the day, it all came down to where it is now. And whatever side you fall on that, opinion of the political thing, we can understand if YouTube wants to say, you know what, man, well, just for the safety of it all, we're going to take that video down. But to give you a community strike is where it crosses the line.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
That's where it crossed the line for me. And I'm like, I will fight somebody. I will go to Google City and fight somebody. Google City.
Yeah, and honestly, like I said, it's the lack of communication that. And you're absolutely right to say, I didn't violate any community guidelines. I don't deserve that strike. I really don't. I don't deserve to go to jail just because somebody said that I was trying to bring a gun into Disneyland when I didn't actually try to bring a gun into Disneyland, right? So that part I totally understand. That part, and I can totally get on board. And I am frustrated about that. And I wish that Google would just answer my call. But Google and YouTube, communication is just not their strong point. And again, we have to go back into perspective. 300 hours of video.
Yeah, you are far from the only person trying to get in touch.
Yes, exactly. And they're actually, believe it or not, I am well educated on the subject, obviously, because it happened to me. And I went online to say, okay, what can I do about this? Is this happening to other people? What's going on? And I read Google is actually making great strides to improve in that area. They just hired like 10,000 human employees to help review videos or something like that. 10,000 is a lot of people, it's not enough to review, 300 hours a minute. But it is a lot, it is a lot of people. And so they are making efforts to figure this out. And again, they're doing something completely groundbreaking. Nobody else is doing this, I feel like it's okay to cut them some slack, because, and maybe if my channel gets terminated as a result of this, we would be having a very different podcast right now. But, a slap on the wrist for something I didn't do, well, that happened to me as a kid. Did you eat that chocolate cake? No, I think you did. Spank, like it happens from time to time. So
I suppose, yeah.
The relationship that I have with Google, and you guys may disagree because they won't take my calls. So you may say it's not a good relationship. I still think it's a good relationship, and I still want to keep the relationship. I'm not ready for a divorce yet. So
I get to see a boyfriend, like, I call her all the time. She never answers, but I call her all the time, and so we have a great relationship.
Yeah, well, she sends me money every month, so, why not? Right? So it's a very, very healthy relationship.
It's fine.
No, but like I said, I'm everyone's able to withstand just a little bit of, this is going to sound terrible, a little bit of abuse in a relationship. That maybe
this is a whole different topic.
Disclaimer: Des and Fox does not support abuse in any relationship.
We do not.
I'm just saying, some can be forgiven for the greater good.
Right? Yeah.
If you support abusive relationships, you can go to gunsandguitars.com. Just kidding.
No.
The worst thing that's ever happened to my channel, because everybody thinks that I should now be censored on it.
Yeah, this is not going up.
But really, people make mistakes. And if Google's hiring more people to help, which is a good thing, we want more people and less computers to do this. People make mistakes.
The fact that before you said they had to hire they hired 10,000, and you made the distinction human employees. That's kind of the point right now. Like, it's a system, it's an algorithm, they're working on it, but until then, it's still frustrating.
Right. And let me say, so Google and YouTube they're obviously hiring people every day to help with their computer systems and algorithms and things like that. That number 10,000 was actually just people for manually reviewing video footage. That doesn't include any of their software developers or IT server managers or anybody that's serving the AI side of it. These are actually people that are manually, with their own two eyes and own two ears, watching video and determining if it's okay or not. which I think is a big deal. You know, credit to them. You know, for them. And I haven't gotten any apology from them. I'm still waiting for it. It would be really nice. But like I said, people make mistakes, and then if they show you that they're making strides to be better in that area, then it's worth it to forgive. You know.
Yeah, if you had gotten an email that said, dear Guns and Guitars, we apologize that we had to remove your video, but we have realized that our community has standards that are against your video, and therefore we have chosen to take it down. We, as YouTube, want to support our creators, but also want to support the fans of our creators, and know that we had to take this down because of that. We're sorry for that, but we took it down. And that was it. Right. But no community statement like that. I would be like, that's awesome, YouTube. Yeah. That's very well done. Good, yeah, that was really cool. We totally understand why you did what you did. That makes a lot of sense. But it just seems like this is not being handled well right now.
Right.
And like you said, Dan, it's something that in the future they're working on, looking to improve on.
Yeah. And the way I view it is YouTube is just a dude, and dudes are not necessarily good at communication naturally. Sometimes we just assume that when we tell you something that you're going to, kind of read between the lines. And so it's very possible they sent me that email, and then me reading between the lines is like, hey, we had to do this because, people flipped out about it. And yeah, it sucks to be you, but sorry, then, that's the view and the take that I take on it. Just because, like I said, I did the research, I could have just jumped on YouTube and been like, they hate me. They're not treating me well. They're blah, 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 blah.
Which is honestly what most people would do.
That's not my personality. Right. My personality is I want to figure out why things work. It's probably the reason why I have a successful do-it-yourself channel, because I like to take the time to research how things work and how to do it better. And so when I took the time and I realized the monster and machine that YouTube is and the things that they're trying to do to improve, I was actually like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Dan, hey, man, we want to say thank you so much for spending time with us and having this conversation with us. Thank you to you all watching this time. Hi again.
Hey, how's it going?
Thank you to you all for doing this. If you've come here from Death and Fox and you are interested in what Dan is doing, you can check him out on YouTube. Guns and Guitars is the channel.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of really, really cool stuff. As somebody who likes both guns and guitars, it's a super cool channel that I like to watch a lot. And you can also find his Patreon. Dan, what's your Patreon?
It's patreon.com/Dan Thompson.
Patreon.com/slash Dan Thompson. Thompson has an H in it, just so you guys know, TH.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can check him out there. But obviously, Dan is trying to make money off of this. It's his living now. And if YouTube is going to be taking videos down, he's got to check out another way to make some money so we can continue doing this. We can continue making his art.
Yeah.
So check him out on Patreon. We really want to encourage you guys to do that. If you were here because of Guns and Guitars, hi, we're Des and Fox.
How you doing?
And we do a lot of video games.
We play video games that have guns in them, so...
Yeah, that's totally the same.
Right.
Also, I'm a bard in my D&D group, so it's kind of like guitars, right?
That's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We might as well be called Des and Fox's Guns and Guitars.
Yeah, absolutely the same thing. But the nerdy gritty is something where we talk about pop culture a lot, as you guys see in a lot of art and things like that.
Yeah.
So welcome. We're glad you're listening to us. So that's it.
If you have an opinion that wasn't mentioned, or like a fact or something, or you completely disagree with us and think we're stupid, let us know. We might ignore you. But we might not, so we'll find out. Go ahead and
just hold us and then run back out. Yeah.
Continue the conversation, because this is a 45-minute version of a very long conversation that could be had.
Right.
There's always something else we could talk about. So I want you to continue that down there in the comments. And thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Dan, for being a part of this. And we will see you guys next time.
And remember, guys, save games, save lives. See you later.
Bye.